We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you if I don't say the words that make...
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith, the Premier League show with Melly. Good evening, Melly.
Good evening, Rafi. Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's well.
Good to see you, mate. Well, Newcastle fans have got a spring in their step tonight, mate, and this is the reason why. Tom Dixon came straight in. Premier League clubs have voted against a temporary ban on associated clubs doing loan deals in January. Newcastle United remain free to sign players on loan from PIF Saudi Arabian-owned clubs. Christmas has just come early for Newcastle United fans, says Mike Gent, and the vote was 13-7. So this news came through earlier this afternoon. Craig Hope from the Daily Mail, of course, works the Newcastle United beat, broke the story. In a shock twist, he says, the fast-track proposal was not supported by the 14 top-flight members needed to implement the change, missing out by just one after a 13-7 ballot was returned. Mail Sport revealed earlier this month that the vote would take place on November the 21st at the next Premier League shareholders meeting, and it was thought then that the motion would be passed. But with 11 clubs part of, in effect, multi-club ownership models, we are told that there was fear among some that rules would evolve to block all transfers. So Manchester City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Brighton, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, and Crystal Palace are the clubs that have owners with stakes in foreign clubs, while incoming Manchester United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe, of course, owns French team Nice. So, Melly, this is breaking news today. What do you make of that?
Oh, that's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, the one club, you needed one extra club to vote against it, and that was obviously Manchester United because of Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in, and he wants to bring in some from Nice. So he's well got Manchester United to thank for this.
Hey, have you, Martin Gallen says, have you been getting a job as a steward at Old Trafford?
It's because of him. I'm working the other tinker.
Classic.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hell of a bit of good news, I guess, for Newcastle. I mean, if Newcastle are intending on going in for a signing out there, but there's no guarantees. It's paper talk that Newcastle are after Neves. You would think it could be a smokescreen, but it's not about Newcastle. Although we felt, there was paranoia circulating Tyne side that we all felt potentially this was aimed at us and aimed at the Saudi owners. But in a grand scheme of things, there are a lot of clubs that could benefit from this loan situation. So it's not just Newcastle. I think you've got to make sure that people know that.
Well, at the end of the day, players should be able to, be free to come and go as they please. It's up to the scouts and the chairman and everybody involved to bring in the best players that they possibly can, isn't it? So at the end of the day, Steve, Saudi, maybe it is a little dig at Newcastle to stop it from happening because they're taking over and everybody's gone to Saudi. But in reality, that's probably 5 players that you could name that's gone to Saudi that would get into your Newcastle team. Do you know what I mean? There's not that many more, mate, to be like Neves and Mahrez, for example. But there's not that much talent out there at the minute. Is that really?
I would take Mane. I've got to be honest. Mane would be a signing that I would think would fit straight into Newcastle's team.
Oh, straight in, aye. And I mean, like, hey, if you can get them, you need them, don't you? Really, let's be honest. We have injury crisis. You could do with a little bit of a hand from somebody. And you know, when people's putting the amount of money that these have put into use, then why can you not pull in favours from mates? You know, it happens in every single work department across the world. So why not football? It's at the end of the day. If you want a player, then you'll pay for him, willing you, or you'll loan him, or whatever it is. But it's just, it's all right. I think that's the right call, to be honest with you. Whether or not it changes, you know, like in the summer or whenever, I don't know if this was just an emergency one to try and stop it in January, and they'll go into depth with it later on in the season, perhaps. But for now, you're free to do what you want, and you know, hopefully you can bring a few in to strengthen your run in the Carabao Cup.
In other news at this meeting, there was another vote, and the Daily Mail said that they also revealed the Premier League clubs have voted against tougher rules on associated party commercial deals. This would have meant having to prove multiple offers of the same value. However, the proposal failed to get the support needed, and again, that can involve all Premier League teams. It seems that everything that the Premier League is putting forward is not going down too well amongst those who've got foreign ownership and who have money put into other clubs. But that's another twist, isn't it, really, Melly?
Aye, mate. I mean, you're always going to get problems when other people are coming in and other teams are suffering through it. You know, there's always going to be objections, but you just battle through it, and you know, it's what will be, mate. And it seems like a lot of clubs have got a lot of sense, you know, and it seems potentially the ones that are not favouring from it, that are voting against it. So it's a schoolyard stuff, really, isn't it, mate? But at the highest level.
Other news since we last did a show together: Everton deducted 10 points for financial fair play. What was your first thoughts on that? Did you agree with the penalty? Did you agree that they should have points deducted, or you know, are you in favour of maybe a review and an opportunity for Everton to get these points back? Because the fans are protesting about this, and you know, the fans are the ones who feel they're being hit.
Well, it's not very fair on the fans, is it? But what they've set a mark now, the Premier League, so they've got to stick with it. And for me, you know, like, they're deducting Everton for 10 points for, was it one charge or something? Or
yeah, that's right, one
charge. You know, like, and you look at Manchester City, who's got 115, but they've got the best lawyers in the land, in the world, probably. You know, like, they have set the benchmark now, mate, at 10 points. And there's no way they can reverse that now, because they've already done it, and it's took months and maybe it's a year to even come to that decision. So to then change it after a little bit of niggly, then it would be stupid to do so, mate. But what they need to do now is they need to go after Manchester City and strip them of every title possible that they've earned through this. And they need to hammer them. You know, Manchester City, realistically, if you're going off what's happening at Everton, realistically, they could be playing against the likes of Ashington and that, man. If you take the amount of points off them, what, you know, like, for the charges they've got against them, it's 1,150 points. And why should they not? Why shouldn't they have the points deducted? They've deducted Everton, so deduct Man City. And, you know, like, I'm trying to get a flag. I don't know if it's going to be here on time for Sunday at Everton away to say that we stand with Everton, you know. And now that they've done this, that the Premier League need to be investigating the likes of Man City and Chelsea and whoever else hasn't played fairly. But Newcastle are, you know what I mean? Otherwise, they've got the money to buy every single player in the world, and they haven't. They've done it right. You know, they've stuck to the fair play. So why shouldn't other clubs do that?
It's interesting to hear somebody in support of Everton, because a lot of the people who, you know, I've spoken to, a lot of people who I've seen on social media are celebrating the fact that Everton have had the points deducted. I've got to be honest, it doesn't bother me either way. You know, Everton and Aston Villa, I don't really see them as rivals as such, because, you know, they're not teams that we've had constant backwards and forwards with in recent years. Man United, probably when we were at the top of the league in the 90s, and Sunderland, of course, is our main rival. But other than that, I don't see the likes of Everton and Aston Villa as direct rivals to Newcastle. Villa probably more so at the moment because of their European aspirations. It's very similar to us. But Everton, have been down the wrong end of the table when we were there, and now that we've got out of that kind of particular mire where I understand everyone's got their teams that they love and teams that they hate. For me, I think the punishment was fair, but I think that if that is the punishment for Everton, I agree with you. I think Manchester City should have their league titles stripped and exonerated. There should be an asterisk next to the name. And I think that if they are found guilty of 115 financial fair play breaches, which they've been accused of, I do believe they could end up playing in the non-league, and that's where they'll have to start off again. I mean, you can say the same about Chelsea. From Gary's point of view in the chat, he says Everton admitted guilt, Man City haven't. Until they've proved otherwise, anything is speculation, which is 100% true, and that's why I always say allegedly on this show. But yeah, you're right. So yeah, the Manchester City and Chelsea punishments, if they are found guilty, will be interesting, Melly, won't they?
Well, they wouldn't disclose that they had 115 charges against them if they didn't think that they were true. Yes, it is speculation, but still the Premier League, they would have kept that under wraps until they were concrete that the charges were right, So I think the majority of the charges, Steve, is like when you used to get Football Manager back in the day and your mate had a cheat code that you could put in and you could get anybody you wanted. It's very similar to what they've done, They were going to see families and paying mums and dads hundreds of thousands of pounds to make sure that kid ended up playing for them, which is, it's unfair. It's not right, and they should be punished for it if they've allegedly done it. But we'll see, mate. But I'm not so much supporting Everton, like you said, though. But what I am supporting is that if there's wrongs, then you need to be charged for it, and it just keeps it fair, doesn't it, for everybody?
Well, this is it, yeah, and it has to be a level playing field, but the punishment has to fit the crime. And they've come out now and said essentially that they've done wrong. Then Chelsea will be punished. There's no doubt about that. And what happens with Manchester City? Well, that remains to be seen. News breaking today as well about Harry Redknapp and the transfer deal that was done with Jermaine Defoe, I think it was. And again, potentially could be more coming out about that over the next 24, 48 hours. And if that was a breach, then, Spurs could be in trouble as well. I mean, the whole thing is... You're
just opening a tin of beans, aren't you, mate?
It is. It's a tangled web, isn't it?
Aye. It'll all start coming out. Once one's come out, the whole lot will come out. It'll be... I don't know. It's a good thing for football, mate, because it's going to get rid of all the all the sneakiness that's happening, and it's keeping it a level playing field, isn't it? So you can only buy players who you can afford, and what revenue says that you can afford to pay, and then on wages and stuff, and it's keeping it fairly level. Of course, it'll benefit Manchester United and Manchester City. Gone off the last records what they put out. They made nearly 100 million more than Manchester United. I don't know how they do that with 16,000 fans every week.
I think with Chelsea, a lot of people saying Chelsea, Gary says, if Chelsea are found guilty, do you think they'll be handed less harshly because of the change of ownership? But the way Chelsea have done it makes me laugh. It reminds me of being at school. Chelsea have come out and gone, miss, look at what we've found in our books. That previous owner's gone, and that previous owner, you won't believe what he's done. We didn't know anything about it. That's the way it comes. That's the way it comes across with Chelsea. And
he's being clever as well, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Todd Bowley's being clever, he's buying these top players, but he's stringing it out over a decade. So it's only maybe 4 million against each player per year. So he's very clever in what he's doing. And it's the same with Man City. They are obviously very clever, and they knew that this could potentially come out. So this is why they're finding it so hard to charge them, because the lawyers is literally they've got the Premier League lawyers like this, in the hands. And they don't know what to do, in my opinion.
James says, hello, Melly, my favourite actor.
Sorry with that, Steve.
Ian says,
All right, James.
we shouldn't be supporting any club that has cheated. Simple. And the case on Defoe is 15 years old. So I guess to go back as far as the Premier League started and whenever the rules were implemented, that's the question answered, really. Mozza saying, how far do they go back? It probably goes back to 92, 93, doesn't it?
You're hoping that it's the transfer to Sunderland, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it could be. You just don't know, do you? Derek says Abramovich came into Chelsea and bought the title and cups. He was the one that ruined the Premier League, and that's the reason Sir John Hall decided to sell Newcastle.
Excellent statement, that, Derek. That was for me when it all changed. You know, when Sky started having a much more involvement, and Roman Abramovich seemed to come along, and the Sky sucked it all up, and before you knew, you know, there was loads of games on at weekends through the week, and it changed it all. And you're right, he bought everything, didn't he? And that shouldn't be how it is. Everybody should be level, you know, but it happens in F1, you know, like still to this day, I refuse to watch it because there's always one team that's better than the rest of them. If it was a level playing field and anybody could win, then it would be more interesting. And I don't think that'll ever happen with the Premier League, to be fair, because it's such an interesting sport. And it's got a worldwide audience that people will always tune in. But, you know, at the minute, as much as I hate to admit it, you cannot really look past Manchester City because even if they're having a bad run, you think, well, they can always turn it on and go on a run and they're capable of winning 20 off the belt, you know. So it's not very even at the minute. And I know a lot of people out there will be saying, I know, but you had the run of things for a long time. But you know, that wasn't through cheating. That was through having a hell of an academy coming through, and Alex Ferguson being really, really clever in what he did, and Manchester United earning a lot of money in revenue were able to buy, you know, like some super players here and there, and maybe they were like above the rest of them. But if you ask any Manchester United fan, yes, it's nice winning titles, but I'd much rather it where it was close and it was to the wire, and you know, like it kept it interesting right to the last game of the season, because every week you're gone and you know you're wanting to win, and then if you draw, you think it's the end of the world, and that's what football's about for me. If you're gone and you're 20 points clear at the top of the Prem, and you know you're gonna piddle all the rest of the cups, then what's the point? You know, like you know you're gonna win them. But there's no joy in that for me, like, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with us.
Yeah, George has got a good suggestion. He says all Premier League teams beginning with M should lose 1,130 points.
Well, we're lucky because we're called Newton Heath. We're just trading under Manchester United.
It's Defoe's transfer from Spurs to Portsmouth they're looking at. Cheers, Ian. Good evening to Ashley. Good evening all. There's no way City and Chelsea will be deducted all these points. They will break away to the Super League. Do you think the Super League's still in contention to happen at some point?
I didn't think so. I think it's had its chance, and it was pulled to pieces, mate. I don't think there's any going back of it. Maybe in the other parts of the world they might, you know, like where they'll try and bring some Saudi teams into it, and Barcelona might join, and the best from Italy might join. But for Premier League teams, you look at much better in the Premier League, to be fair. Like, you'd be stupid to try and jump ship. And I think these new owners that are coming in understand that, you know, they understand that the reason it's as popular is because we're still very much, you know, like in this country, devoted to it. If teams start pulling out, it might tear it apart, and it could go on the other way. It would for me anyway. I would never attend another game again, ever.
Any update on your impending takeover, or is it still going round and round and round? What's happening with Manchester United's takeover?
Round and round, mate. I mean, well, Sheikh Jassim was out, obviously, as you know, and then Sir Jim Ratcliffe's in pole position, and it was supposed to be happening before the American Thanksgiving this Thursday, and it's apparently not now. It's going to be next week, and then there's rumours that the share prices is going to almost double Thursday or Friday because Sheikh Jassim has secretly been in the background, a bit like Stabley was with you when you all thought it was off and they walked away, and then suddenly she's buying you. There's a potential that could still happen. But mate, I'm forgetting about it, to be honest with you. Like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then we'll continue the protests against the Glazers. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's going to have to be, because every time that there's protests, something gets leaked, and it just seems it's too good to be true, So you told me a few weeks ago, look, mate, I don't think it'll ever happen. A few other people have said the same kind of thing, and you crack on and that, and I don't know, mate. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I got to the point where I didn't really want Sir Jim because he was keeping the Glazers in, and I looked at it from a different point of view, and I thought, well, if you look at it from their point of view and say this is happening, and they are determined not to sell the whole club, then what's the best way to get into them and potentially get them out eventually? And that would be to buy a small stake, so then you have got a voice and you have got an opinion, and then you can slowly but surely push them out the door. So I was for Sir Jim, especially when he said, if you buy a house and you didn't spend any money on it, then you're not really interested in that house, you just want to flip it. But he said that he's gonna invest in the stadium, which is his house. If he buys a share, it's his house. And if somebody's going to invest in the stadium as well as invest in shares, then they're there for the long haul, aren't they? So we'll see what happens, mate. But I'm not losing sleep over it anymore. It'll happen if it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
We're looking at the game at the weekend, Everton playing Manchester United. You're talking about getting a flag yourself to say you stand with Everton. £33,000 so far, I think, was the total that Everton fans have raised to do a protest. Do you think protests work, Melly?
Personally, no, mate. Nah. These people are probably not even watching the protests. They'll not care less about it. I think the best protest we ever had at Old Trafford was when we sat in after the game and we wouldn't leave the stadium, and there was about 5,000 Reds stayed back, and I think that got the most traction. And Manchester United then got to pay extra money to keep extra security back for that hour and outside. So that was the best we had, but still, I didn't think that bothered, mate. You've got to kind of do what AC Milan done, didn't you? And you've got to empty the stadium. But that'll never happen. It'll never happen at Manchester United, unfortunately, because if I was to give my ticket up the day, somebody else will buy it tomorrow. And it's the same for every other season ticket holder, mate. It's, they'll quickly get rid of your ticket. I mean, to be honest, Manchester United, if I was to hand my ticket back, that would then go online, and I think you pay nearly £200 for it. It's shocking. They're the biggest touts in the world, the Glazers. Honestly, mate. I don't know have you heard any stories from some of the Toon fans when they came down? And if you couldn't get in the away end, they were trying to get into the home end, and some of them were paying like £300 and £400, man. Honestly, it's just absolutely scandalous. Scandalous. It's a working man's game, and they're milking them for everything they can because of our love for the clubs.
No doubt about that. Yeah, tickets are a big talking point with Newcastle, of course, and since we went digital, I've noticed there's a lot of tickets available now on sites, websites, etc. £250, £200, for tickets in certain parts of the ground, and people are up in arms about it. People are asking how tickets like that are getting on there, but it's simple. It's touts who know how to control the internet, to work the internet, use the algorithms, jump the queue, and that, it's as simple as that, really. If Newcastle's system can be breached, anybody's system can be breached. It's it's not unusual to see tickets for a big concert at an arena sell out in seconds, and then on these sites suddenly the tickets are on there for 3 times the market value. It's what happens. All really Newcastle have done by putting a digital ticket service in is take away the living from those touts who used to sell outside the ground, stop Newcastle fans being able to pass their ticket on, buy a ticket, get a loyalty point and pass the ticket on. All they've done is they've created, inadvertently maybe, like what all the other big clubs have got, which is an online touting system, which nobody has any control over. Nobody knows who these people are. They're faceless, really, aren't they?
Aye, and they're making a fortune, mate, an absolute fortune. So the tout's gone from outside the ground, but they've just created a brand new massive machine online. So until they can get round that, do they want round that? Do they? I don't know. We'll never know. But as fans of people who's gone for years, it's unfair. It's unfair almost. So but it'll continue, Steve, and it'll continue, and it'll get worse. I see a lot of people complaining about the Newcastle website now, which never ever used to happen. Used to be able to pick their tickets up in cereal boxes. No, I'm joking.
Everton have admitted their guilt today. Take the punishment, David. You are right. Philip Shuttleworth says from next season, the Champions League and Europa are changing to a league format, not groups, and each team will play 8 games from September to the end of January. I haven't seen
That's crazy.
I haven't seen that confirmed, but if that's the case, and I've got no reason to doubt Phil for putting that in there, that's just more games, isn't it, Melly?
No, I think Phil's right, mate. I think because I've heard that from a good source. There's going to be. He's saying we'll play 8 games. It's in total, I think it's 12 games in the Champions League. So it's 6 aways. 6 aways in the Champions League. It's it's all right for the billionaires flying hour, but for your average fan, again, mate, they're just getting crippled, man. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
It is. Everton have admitted their guilt, so should take the punishment. Yeah, Derek said the thing with Man U fans is that you want another Ferguson, and managers like that are 1 in a million. It's interesting because on the breakfast show we've been talking about Manchester United's managers over the years, and there's again Ten Hag, it's 1 step forward, 3 steps back at the minute for him, and he just seems to be the latest in a long line of people who just haven't been able to live up to the Fergie experience. Because he won everything, didn't he? Big shout out to Ditchy in the chat, by the way. He says no chance Everton should be below Newcastle. Hope you're well, Liam. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the managerial situation at Old Trafford? Is Ten Hag gonna last the distance? Is he gonna ride this storm next season?
Right, let's get this. Let's get comfortable here, right? What's your thoughts on Eddie Howe and the job he's doing?
I think Eddie Howe at this moment in time is doing a great job. I think that one defeat doesn't ruin your season. We've got 4 players back this weekend against Chelsea, which changes the whole format for me. I think Isaac coming back in, Bruno coming back in, Miguel Almiron coming back in, and Fabian Schär coming back in gives us the spine of our team back. I think anybody who suffered the same injuries as us would have suffered. But at this moment in time, the quadruple is still on, Melly.
Right, so you've just answered your own question to me, right? Because
no, but I'm asking you about Ten Hag.
Aye, and I are, right? But you've just answered your own question. Anybody with the same amount of injuries as you, if you look at Manchester United injury list, we're above you in the league, mate. We are top of the form table. So to say that Ten Hag's having a bad season, the only thing that he isn't in that you're in is the Carabao Cup.
Which form table are you looking at? Because Aston Villa were top of the form table. Newcastle was
the last 5 games.
Manchester United were 3rd, but the last 8 games, you see, you can
mix. Yeah, always gone off the last 5.
You can change it any way you want. The last 8 games, Aston Villa's top, Newcastle's 2nd, Manchester United's 3rd.
But 95% of your fan base will say that Eddie Howe is doing fantastic, right? But because it's Manchester United and they're held on this pedestal that we aren't the greatest anymore, and the quicker that every other team realise that, but every time we get beat, it's a problem. But Ten Hag, for what he's having to deal, look, he's had to deal with all the injuries, right? For instance, there's one, right? Then he's had to deal with the world's greatest ever player spitting his dummy out. 2, right? Cristiano Ronaldo. And he dealt with that situation. We could go on and on and on. Harry Maguire, Jadon Sancho. You give Jadon Sancho a 3 month off. Give him 350 grand a week to get his head in the right place. And then he comes back. He's back 2-3 weeks. And he's spitting his dummy out and he's staying up at 3 o'clock playing on his PlayStation again for 350 grand a week. So then he's the bad man for dropping him. And then you've got, on top of all that, the rot inside of the club. So you've seen what's happening with fans on the outside of the club. Imagine what's happening on the inside, mate. With these lot. I mean, they're talking about ducking wages within the club, like cleaners and stuff like that, man. And he's having to. He wanted Frankie de Jong. He wanted some good signings. He wanted Haaland. And he ended up getting Wout Weghorst. Wout Weghorst. And mate, he got rid of a cup final. We finished 3rd in the league, and we won the Carabao Cup. And then this season, granted, we haven't been playing the best football, but we're not far off. But he's having to deal with a hell of a lot, mate. I think Ten Hag's the best manager we've had since Alex Ferguson. And if he's given time, unfortunately, like, you know, the pressure was on the other week, and if he hadn't to beat Luton, it would have been really on. And if we're going to get beat this weekend off Everton and to use and Galatasaray, you would have been gone. No doubt about it. You know, you've got no kind of lightly in this game anymore. It's finished. But why should he? Like, you know, he's trying to implement his style of football. He said, look, we'll never be able to play the way I did at Ajax because, you know, like, it's a different tempo. It's a completely different tempo of the Premier League to the Eredivisie. So that's not going to happen. And people took that the wrong way, and they were like, that's why you were brought here. But his man management, I think, is absolutely fantastic. If you speak to players, you know, like, they speak really, really highly of him. James Garner just came out this week and said, and he was one that was let go to Everton, that Ten Hag is a very, very approachable man, but he's also extremely strict. So it is what it is. You know, when you're dealing with millionaires who are like under 30-year-old, and you're trying to tame them, and then you've got people above you who are saying, you must do this, you must do that. You know, like, that's not what you're not allowed to do that. He's against the wind, let's be honest. You know, like, he's probably got the hardest job in the Premier League at the minute, and still we're sitting all right. You know, like, you look at our Champions League group, and yes, we might have lost late at Copenhagen, but I think that's the best we've played. And Russia had not got sent off. It's 5-0 that game, by the way, because we were in complete control. But if you look at the Champions League, getting back to that, we will still qualify for that. I firmly believe that. You know, what I think if we're winning Galatasaray, Bayern's obviously playing Copenhagen, which you'll expect a Bayern win. You know, and then that puts us in the second. Bayern come to us, the last game of the season. They've got 15 points. They'll send their reserves over, and we'll beat them. You know, and we're through. Hard done by. The only thing we're out of is the Carabao Cup, which Ten Hag played perfectly. You know, he was like, look, we've won it. Give Newcastle that chance. Go on, just.
I'm putting the odds on.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces. They are handmade in Cumbria. If you want to order some of these sauces, call 01768 210 102 or go to the website mrvickys.co.uk. Thanks again to United Group Travel. They are a UK coach holiday firm, and they are based in Morpeth with pickups throughout the Northeast. No strangers on our tours, just people you haven't met yet. They're on Facebook. They've also got a website, unitedgrouptravel.com, or give them a call, 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174 or 07957 141 654. Big thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals. They're an independent funeral director based in Gateshead. You can find them at their website, darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk, or give them a call, 0191 478 2730, or email Darren at darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Big thanks to Neil and the lads at Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And a big thank you to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. If you want to help the channel, then please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button underneath today's video. Hit the thumb up, which helps you like the video, and please click share and share it to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, you could take out a one-off membership. You get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf. It's a £25 one-off fee, and you can go to nufcmatters.com and click membership, or put your smartphone over this QR code, and it will take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. If you want to help the food bank virtually from wherever you are in the world, click on nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk, and it takes you to the match day bucket, and you can make a donation no matter how big or small. I'm also involved in the Northeast Footy Breakfast Show. You can find us on the toonuk.com. I do Monday to Friday with Ted, the Sunderland fan, and Rye the Borough fan, and Radio Dad Dave. Lots of fun, 7 till 9 every morning. Give us a listen, you'll not regret it. We also help support people in the area who are putting events on. An evening with Nobby Solano takes place on the 19th of January at the Tyneside Irish Club. And an evening with Peter Beardsley takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre the week before, on January the 12th. Tickets for both events are available on Voucher and would make fantastic Christmas presents for anyone of a black and white persuasion.
Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters, the Premier League show. Morris says, Melly, Man U had the easiest start to the season possible. Let's see where they are after Christmas.
I agree with you. It's, we haven't, but let's rewind back to Spurs in the second game, like that penalty that wasn't given, where there's been like 4 or 5 given since, they've gone against it. It's the way it happens. You'll probably sit there and you'll say like, but you got the decision for plenty of years. But we're looking for consistency, like you've got VAR now. You didn't have that years ago. So, it's got to be fair throughout for everybody. It could have went a different way. We win that game at Spurs. We won our first game, then we beat Forest. And it's just the way football is, isn't it? So I agree with you. Let's see where we are after Christmas. I would like to see what kick on now. And a good result against vulnerable Everton, although they've been playing well. But with what's just happened, like they are going to be vulnerable. If we can beat them, and then we've got the small case of the injury-stricken Newcastle a week later.
Yeah, we'll have our players back for that. Sparky D says Bayern will put out a full team to knock Man United out. Mozza says, Melly's funny. None of his team are speaking to each other, and ours is a brotherhood.
Mate, you're right, Mozza. It's, that's the one thing that I wish Manchester United were like Newcastle for, and that's the togetherness, and that's not just the players, that's with the fans. I'm often, been with Martin a couple of times, and I hear them speak, and like the players have got time for the fans. I'm at a central venue on a Sunday, normally with my little Melvin, and he's in the same league as Trippier and Joe Linton's young'un, and they always stop for everybody, and take photos, and that's all it takes. And now they'll probably get it all day, every day of their lives, but that's all it takes to feel that togetherness, and it's winning. And it's that kid who Manchester United's been linked with, who what's his name? One of the guys in the back room, mate, and he advised Eddie on how to get the togetherness, like how to run a club and how you should be with your fans and stuff. And within like a season or two, that's exactly what you've got, and everybody can see, like, which is why it's surprising, like when PSG, obviously it was fantastic, but when was it AC Milan or who was the other team that came? Dortmund, sorry. When Dortmund came, and like people were like, they weren't expecting Newcastle's ground to be like that, and I don't know if you were just bullied a little bit by the drums and stuff, and then obviously the performance on the pitch or whatnot. But
Dortmund did the job on us. Dortmund managed to suppress us. The second game, I would say, look, injuries played their part. But the first game, they came and outplayed us at home. And we came on this show and said, Newcastle needed to win their home games in the Champions League to progress. They need a bit of luck now. They need to be able to go to PSG and get something and then beat Milan at home. 4 points out the next 2 games, Newcastle go through. Newcastle get beat against PSG and beat AC Milan. Depending on the other results, we could end up in the Europa League. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But you've got to give credit to Dortmund. They did a number on us. You know what I mean? And they beat us home and away, mate. End of story. And that's experience. That's Champions League experience. Newcastle will learn more from those 2 games against Dortmund, and Eddie Howe will learn more from those 2 than beating PSG 4-1.
Well, I think you can go to PSG and get a result. It's a farmers' league, isn't it, Steve? People are feared of them because of one man, really, and that's Mbappe. But, they have got a few good players, but as you proved at St. James's Park, they're very much beatable, mate. So there's no reason why you can't go over there and beat them, or at least get a draw. And would it be the worst case scenario if you win the Champions League at the beginning of the season and then you drop in the Europa League and you get experience of both? No, I don't think it will. It'll be fantastic. And hopefully, you know, maybe he's going to get into Europe again next year, and it's just the start of great things. We'll see what happens, mate. I personally think you'll advance in the Champions League. I can see you getting something at PSG, and I can definitely see you beating AC Milan when they come round.
Thoughts on the atmosphere? Sparky says he speaks to people who go to Old Trafford on a regular basis. They've said it's the quietest it's been for some time. Would you agree?
Of course it is. Of course it is. It's because, like, not only have you got a load of day trippers in there, but you've also, you know, like, the club is rotten, mate. The performances is poor.
Concrete dropping on their heads from the top of the stands as well.
Aye, you know, like, it's, and these are probably easy fixes, you know, a little bit of rain leaking in or whatever, you know, like maybe it's 100 grand. 100 grand's a drop in the ocean to, you know, like any other owners. But with these, they're clinging on for dear life. And personally, I thought that they would have just snapped the billions that Jassim was offering and got out, because it's just absolutely sour there now. They'll never be accepted, and you know they have to have the best of security if they would ever visit Old Trafford, because you know there's a lot of people gunning for them. A lot of people take this very, very personally, mate. You know, like, it's not just they're not just a football club. This is somebody's life. You know, like a lot of people's lives, and it really matters to them. You know, so they're treading on dodgy waters, mate, to be honest with you, and it's only getting worse and worse. And you know, you've seen how it can go now in Italy and stuff, and you know, you wouldn't want that. I wouldn't personally want that, but it's, you know, the more that they keep doing it, then the more possible that it's going to become, that it's going to end up really sour, you know. And sad, really, because, you know, you're looking at FIFA Fair Play and stuff like that, mate. But why isn't the government looking at somebody like the Glazers, who were able to come into Manchester United and buy them with no money, yet take like billions out in dividends? That shouldn't be allowed neither, you know. So it's just, I don't know, mate. It's shocking, really. Like,
yeah, PSG fans were better than Dortmund at St James's, says Martin. See the Scarlet Emery for PSG injured. He was their best player against us, says David. But they've got a lot of, you know, it's which Newcastle turns up, which I'm concerned about.
Who said that? Who said PSG were better than Dortmund? Martin Gallen.
Martin. Yeah.
He must have been sitting in his box then.
Has Man U got the equivalent of the Gallagher pigeon? This Gallagher pigeon was a dead pigeon that was in the ground for 4 years under Ashley, because he just didn't change the nets. We all used to call it. We all used to look at it. It was just decomposing each game. Horrendous. But yeah, the bad old days under Ashley. Talk about England, Melly. England played last night. Obviously, we've had an international weekend. Last night, dear me, it's 90 minutes plus. I'll not get back in my life, to put it that way. Poor game. And I think it highlights how bad England are without Bellingham. Bellingham, probably for me, the best central midfield player, best attacking midfield player we've had since, well, in the world currently, yes, but since Gaza. You know, I don't think we ever replaced Gaza in 96 when he wasn't picked in 98 by Huddle. We never replaced him. And we've had lots of people who would like to have worn the crown. Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard spring to mind. Probably Raheem Sterling, who's been, a great servant to England, but not at Gaza's level. Bellingham's got that potential, but without Bellingham, England just they look boring. And last night, wow! I mean, I know we'd qualified. I can imagine, trying to get people up for a game against Macedonia on a dodgy pitch is hard at the best of times. But it was a game as well, which was hampered by, once again, those three letters, VAR. Some horrendous official action on the pitch and VAR off the pitch. It was a mess. It was a mess. But that wasn't a great performance from England. And there's no way in the world England could go on and win it playing like that.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, yesterday was a nothing game, really, but you should still be beating North Macedonia. And we shouldn't really be a one-man team neither, because we've got some of the best attacking flair that this country's ever seen currently available to it. And I've said this for a while, mate, that we would be World Cup and Euro winners, and we had an attacking manager in place. I didn't think Gareth's that. Gareth's a yes man. He's a nice man. He's but he when they come up against, when they come up against France, or when they came up against Croatia in that semi, and they bottle it, but when the Ghana teams and they try and score 2 or 3 or 4, and they totally annihilate teams. But then when he gets to try and play a safe, which is pretty obvious what he's doing, he gets the goal and then he sits on it, and before you know it, we've lost the game. So I don't think we'll ever win anything as long as Gareth Southgate's in charge. I think he settled the ship, and he's done all right, and he is a really, really nice guy. But mate, what was he like? The manager of Middlesbrough, Aston Villa, and he's literally, I'm not just saying this, but you've just said it yourself. Since Paul Gascoigne, he has got in his hands the best group of players that we could possibly ask for to win with a major trophy, and I just didn't think he's got the minerals to do it. I really didn't. You're on about Bellingham, but you put Foden into that little position in that 10, and mate, there's nobody in this league can touch him in the Premier League. He's absolutely unstoppable. And if you put Grealish on one wing, and you've got Raheem on the other with Harry and Marcus and Phillips holding with Rice. I mean, that should be enough without Bellingham. But you're right, Bellingham is absolutely fantastic, and he creates so much. But we shouldn't become reliant on one player again. Not when he's got so many at his disposal. But it seems to be like it is like that. It's the same like before Bellingham come along. If Kane was injured, you were like, no, Kane's injured. But why should it be like that, mate? You're chosen to play for your country. And I don't know if I was telling you or the show or somebody, but I was speaking to a guy from East North, right? And I'm going off subject a little bit here, but I'll get to it at the end, mate. East North. And what happens is, right, to play for your country, so East North will play North, right? 16 of the each, right? And then the winner of that game, North will then go and play, say, a team from Manchester. But Manchester, in the meantime, to get to play the North, have had to play North Manchester, South Manchester, the 16 best to get to 16. Then North Manchester and North Newcastle will come together, play each other. 16 from there will then go down south, right? And down south have all done that across their counties, all played to get the best 16. Then them 16 from south and 16 from north play each other, and 16 are brought from that team to then play for England, right? It's the schoolboy level. So under 16s, 17s, blah, blah, blah. So that shows you how good and how many eyes you've had to go past, right? To get just to schoolboy level. So to then be chosen to play for actual England, right? Your country, and not give everything. It's just, it's unbelievable. I can't believe that it happens, mate, to be honest with you. To get through all them stages, to make it to the top, to get there, to think, actually, I can't be asked to run, or, we need Bellingham, otherwise we can't play. It's just mind-boggling. I cannot understand it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's almost you get one cap, well, the rest don't matter. But listen, it was a boring game last night. VAR, it's an absolute nightmare, isn't it? VAR. I mean, that really was it.
Spoiling the game, man.
It is, yeah. And I mean, we can't do anything at midway season, but do you think at the end of the season we should be reviewing it and saying something needs to change?
100%, mate. I mean, and if you listen to the VARs, what come back, from the Arsenal and Newcastle game, and the Manchester United against where Harry Maguire's fouled the player and Garnacho's went on to score the goal. Fulham. If you listen to them, they're calling each other, and it seems like it's the same kid. Like an Australian, he sounds Australian. Yo, Banksy, hold the line. That's not Australian, by the way, but you know what I mean. And you're thinking, you're calling him by his nickname, and this is potentially going to cost somebody. It could cost them a Premier League status. That result could end up relegating the team if they didn't get the decision that they needed, or could cost them winning the Premier League. And they're calling each other their nicknames, and hold on a minute, we've got something to. And you're thinking, hold on. Jesus, so either scrap VAR or get people in who are sensible enough to make a decision. Look, he's not interfering. Play it on. Yeah, goal, give it. That's a goal. You're literally that scared to make a wrong decision that it's taken them 5 minutes. They're taking 5 minutes out of the game we love. So you can't even celebrate a goal anymore. The goal goes in and you're still sitting there thinking, well, we'll wait on VAR. VAR says goal, and then you celebrate. It's bonkers, mate. It should be instant decision. How can they not just put lines up straight away and say, he's offside? Simple as that. Mm-hmm. He's offside. Need like, right, go one frame more, go one frame more. You know, like, why? He's either offside or he isn't offside. It's as simple as that. And if he's not, no, allow the goal, play on. Because if you're Devon, Steve, you'll get what me and you's doing, and like what everybody else is doing, and saying VAR's ruining the game. Let's get rid of it. It doesn't have to ruin the game. You know, like it can be there for the big decisions. If you look at Frank Lampard's goal against Germany, you know, like we could have potentially went on to win that because it was miles over the line. If VAR was in then, mate, you know, like we got on and we could potentially win it, but we didn't. We didn't get the decision, and we ended up going home. So I believe that VAR would be beneficial for stuff like that, but they've brought VAR in and they've spoilt the whole game of it by holding it up for too long.
Getting back to the situation with Everton, teams that were relegated in the period of that Everton were found guilty of committing financial fair play irregularities, teams could sue them. I mean that in essence could see Everton go bankrupt.
Mm-hmm. Well, you would, wouldn't you? If you're one of the teams that suffered because of it, then you'd be straight on your lawyers and saying, hold on a minute, we're sitting in the championship here and we've lost so many million and so many players that were worth so much, but we had to sell them cheaper because we're in the championship. And, they came in like crass and they just took what they wanted. So, there's hundreds of millions of pounds could be claimed against them here, mate. So that's why for me, it was a big decision to deduct Everton 10 points because although they've admitted their guilt and they've given them a 10-point deduction, like you've got the other Premier League teams going to come in now and say, well, hold on, this is not fair. Then you've got the other teams saying, well, if they've had 10 points, what about them? You've opened a massive can of worms. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, mate.
Yep, it will be. Okay, looking ahead to the fixtures of the weekend, some big games coming up. Man City, Liverpool is a humdinger. What's your thoughts on that one, Melly?
It's got ones each written all over it, I say.
1-1. Okay, I think Man City will win that game. I think Man City will win that 2-1. Sheffield United take on Bournemouth, battle down at the bottom of the table. So polar opposite to the Man City Liverpool one. How about that?
I think Sheffield United will win that 2-1. They're quite good at home. And I don't know, like the Bournemouth could have done without the international break after the. I can't remember who the beats for the break.
Can't remember. We'll move on. I think Sheffield United will win 2-1 again. Notts Forest against Brighton.
Oh, that's a good one.
The canny game. Forest are a surprise team this year.
Aye, they're doing quite well. In Brighton, obviously, they can beat anybody on that day, as we both know. So I'm going to go for a high scoring draw, Steve. I'm going to go for 2s each.
2-2. Okay, I'm going to go 1-1. Burnley, West Ham.
I think West Ham will just have a little bit too much for Burnley. Although, Burnley, if they're going to win, then it's going to be at home. But I don't know. I think it'll be 3-1 to West Ham that game.
All right, I'm going 2-0 to West Ham. Luton, Crystal Palace.
Luton will win 2-1. I'm going for. I wouldn't have said that 8 weeks ago, Steve. Can you remember? They didn't look like they were going to pick a point up.
I'm going to go 1-1 in that game. Brentford, Arsenal.
Brentford 1-0.
Yeah.
I love that.
See Arteta jumping up and down. Yeah, I'm going to go Brentford 2-1. Tottenham versus Aston Villa.
Ooh, it's got 3s each. I don't know why. Mystic Mel's getting 3s each. Yeah.
Mystic Mel.
Another high scoring draw.
It looks like you're stroking your cat. You're like Blofeld. I'm going to go. Tottenham, I'm going to go Tottenham to lose that game 1-0. At home, yeah. And Postecoglou is bubble will burst again. Fulham, Wolves.
You want to say nails each, but I think I'm going to go nails each.
Okay, I'm going to go 1-0 to Wolves on that one. And the 2 games involving our teams, we'll go Everton, Manchester United first. Whilst you're waving your flag in support of Everton, but also wearing your scarf supporting Manchester United. How do you see that one going?
Well, it'll be a flag. It'll be a Manchester United flag, and it'll have something about City on as well as Everton.
Oh, right, okay, right.
So I'll not be
You're half
supporting
and half.
Everton,
Your little half and half scarf on and that.
Oh, I love him half and half score, that's for sure. I'm gonna go on 2-1 United. I think we'll get the win we need.
2-1 to Manchester United. Yep, okay. And then we've got United versus Chelsea.
Hold on. What are you going for?
Oh yeah, I'm going to go for an Everton win, 1-0. And United against Chelsea at St James's Park on Saturday, the 25th of November, 3 o'clock kickoff. How do you see that one going?
Was it the Saturday kickoff? Saturday, did you say?
Saturday, 3 o'clock.
You see, there's no cameras on, and Newcastle aren't the same kind of team when there isn't any cameras. So I'm going to go Newcastle United 1, Chelsea 1.
Ooh, 1-1 draw. With the players back, I'm going to go Newcastle United 2, Chelsea 1. I think we'll win, but I don't think we'll keep a clean. I don't think we'll give a clean sheet.
I just think Chelsea's hitting a bit of form at the minute, and obviously your players that have been out, they need a little bit of game time as well. So out of an I can see, I think if you can get a draw, it's a good result, Steve.
Yeah, okay, great stuff, Melly. I'm going to let you get back to your nighttime job there.
Thanks, Gallen.
Thanks, Martin Gallen, for sending him away when he was doing the show. But great to see you, Melly. Look forward to having you on again soon.
And you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, Steve. And take care, everybody.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.